Alright, I hope that'll do it. Hey everybody. It is, yay, we're live, alright. I hate this new live back end for YouTube, but hey everybody. It's good old Fire. It's been, how long? 2 years? 2 years? 3 years, maybe? Since I've done an old school Firestream like this. I just spent the last maybe 10 minutes talking to myself, because YouTube's new back end is terrible. What do I care? It's not like I actually do anything with this channel. But allegedly Mark is supposed to show up. And I think I want to tell some spookity stories of my own experience. I'll wait around for a little while, see if anybody shows up. You know, I romanticized the old Firestream so much in my head, but a lot of it was just this dead air, talking about nothing, waiting for people. That's fine though. It's not like anybody is gonna hear this anyway. I can name off what 5 people that are gonna listen to this. Let's see. You got Mark, you got Sora, you got Shin, Buck, and maybe Snapped. So, hey all you bozos if you're listening. Let's see here. So I have 2 stories that I want to get around to tonight. We're sort of in Halloween Madness wrap-up mode. It's 11:42 my time, of course. Here on, oh, would you look at that? I'm live. I don't know why I need to be told that. Just throw that down here. Alright, so if you're here, by the way, shout, because I see somebody's around. But 2 stories I want to get around to since we're in Halloween Madness wrap-up mode. That's where it was at. It's 11:43 p.m. here on the West Coast on Halloween. So Halloween Madness is pretty much officially over. Sad time. It's another 11 months until we get more, but you know, it's been pretty fun. I'm glad that it turned out the way that it did, for sure, because there was a lot of will I won't I through most of the middle part of the year, because I have once a year there's one weekend that moves around a lot where I have to disappear. I go off and do arcane fire things that are deeply censored. But that was going to be on Halloween this year, and I was really sour about it because, believe it or not, I really look forward to Halloween Madness. It's one of the few things that I really I jones for every year. So glad that it ended up the way that it did. I was here for all of it. I've been with Best 5 streams for the past, see, over the past 2 days I've done, I think, 11 hours. Somewhere right around there. And evidently it's still not enough, because here I am. But rounding back to the point that I was trying to make, I've got 2 stories that I want to get after tonight. One is a Halloween Madness specific one, and one isn't. So I've got a story that I want to get onto Halloween Madness over on the Best 5. I've been waiting to tell it for the last 2 years, and I've just never gotten my chance. So I still want to, be it next year, year after, if Best 5 even exists. I still want to get on to Halloween Madness and put it out in front of the masses, if you will. Get in front of 10 people instead of, 2. And another one that I don't think I've ever told anybody, I don't think. At least not as Fire. I don't think Max or Kendall have ever heard it. I don't think Mark has ever heard it, or any of the people who actually listen to this. Speaking of, where's that dude? It's been 5 minutes. Probably didn't get the notification. Sour? But, I don't know. I have enough fun doing this that I'll play to an empty crowd anyway, because, I don't know, somebody's going to hear this eventually, even if it's just me. And if nothing else, I'll get a good little rehearsal in for when I want to tell that story on actual Halloween Madness. So, there's some value in it anyway. This won't matter to anybody in the future, and that bugs me because I always love making evergreen stuff. But it is Halloween of 2020. Hey, there's my boy. Got Sora in, so now I can start telling my stories. Halloween 2020 Madness just wrapped up, and I gotta tell you, that Phasmophobia game, it's been kind of a sensation this year. I didn't really know what I was expecting going in, but it was a good time. Looked like a lot of fun. I really don't like that the game railroads you into murder ghosts. To me, it'd be a lot of fun if it was just a sandbox, you know. You go in there and talk to the ghosts can't hurt you or anything, or don't appear as apparitions. Sora, what the hell are you doing here? Let's see. So I think at 10 minutes or 2 audience members, one of the two, whichever one comes first, I'll kick up into my first story, I guess you could call it. I mean, it's the majority of the story is the setup to the story. But, I don't know, dedicated disciples of Best 5 know that I don't have any real notable paranormal stories or anything like that. You know, I've never seen Bigfoot or anything. But at least I've never told any of the stories on there. And I've been around for, what, 8 years now? Something like that. And I've never told any stories on any of the live streams. I think I've been in call with those guys 3 times. There was the introductory call way back in Foreversville. There was a Mike and Maxcast trivia segment, which I lost because of nonsense. Hey, okay, Mark's here, so I am gonna start the story. And then there was a Unexplained 50. It's funny, someone in the Unexplained 50 stream said, "Oh, by 2020 you'll be celebrating Unexplained 100." Yeah, that didn't happen. But no worries, Mark. Notifications have been terrible on YouTube recently. I don't know why. I didn't get notifications for Best 5 stuff. That tilted me a bit. But since the both of you are here, I think I'll kick on into the story. And a little recap for Mark since he wasn't here. There's a story I've been trying to tell on Halloween Madness for the last 2 years. I've never gotten the chance, so I'll just do it here and then tell it again next year or year after or whatever. You guys good? You're all ready to go? You pumped? Got popcorn and all that? Need some water. Maybe I'll hop on Discord with Sora in a little bit. Wow, the refund actually went through? That's a surprise. Alright. I'm waffling here until 10 minutes, so there's a nice clean starting point for the story. But, yeah, Sora, or if you can beat Shin over the head with a pillow, wake him up, maybe we'll talk a little bit. Because I do want to go right around an hour with this, and my story, both of my stories, maybe we'll get to 40 minutes. That's probably a generous assessment. But, alright, finally 10 minutes. Speaking of stories, why don't we finally get into it? And I'm not dangling the carrot in front of you. Alright. So, like I said, the story is the build-up. The actual story is not that interesting. I used to live in Arizona. It's not where I currently reside, it's where I want to. I love Arizona, I want to go back there. But I grew up there, and from the ages of 5 to 12, I lived in the mountains. See, for Mark might know, but for those who don't know or listening to this, sorry. Okay, buddy. Arizona actually is divided into two parts. So there's the cactus in the desert, you know, what you think of when you think of Arizona. And then there is the mountain. And the mountain is basically America's Himalayas. I lived at 8,500 feet. Yeah. I got some mean-ass lungs, thank you. But when you live that far up, obviously there's not going to be a whole lot of people. And you can play a little fast and loose with the laws and the rules and such. It's country justice, basically. So, this town was right around 100 people, I think. And the house that I lived in was a cabin that was hand-built by my grandfather. Like hammer and nail. I guarantee that if there's a code regulation that house broke it. But we ended up moving into the house after he had died in 2003-ish. 03, 04. Sorry, I'm consulting my roster here because I actually wrote down a couple of points. And we moved in 2005 or 6, so it wasn't empty for very long at all. And you could tell it wasn't empty for very long at all by the fact that, and everything that I'm about to tell you is 100% true. I'll swear on anything you want me to swear by. In the hallway leading to the bedroom, or rather the master bathroom, his blood was still all over the wood paneling in the hallways because he had died in the house. Story goes that he had vomited up a lung or something like that. I don't actually know if that's true. I have no reason to believe it's not true. But yeah, Gramps' blood was just, it was kind of splooshed on there, and it had because it had sat around for a year or 2 years, it had stained into the wood, so you can wash the wood and it wasn't going to come off. That was only the beginning. That was the very first thing that I noticed when I went up there. Now, right away, that's probably enough. Now you got your old man's blood permanently staining the hallway. Gents, we're only getting started. So, I ended up in the room split that we had. I was an only child, so there were only 3 people in the house. I ended up getting one of the 2 upstairs bedrooms. And I ended up getting the one that belonged to my grandfather. Which, nowadays I would say, oh, hell no. But at the time, I was a kid, whatever. I just thought the room decorations were a little odd, but that's it. And I had the same bed as he did. We, of course, living in the literal American frontier. The frontier is still very much alive. Don't let anybody tell you different. We went out there and we cut down trees and we cut our own wood, and we had a stove as the only way to keep that place warm. So being out there, you're not exactly rich. You don't have an embarrassment of riches as far as resources go. So I ended up with the same bed that he slept in, and they kept the same couch in that room as well. Already, we have the hallway, that's bad. Sleeping in a dead man's bed is exponentially worse. So let me step it up just one more for you. And again, I swear to you, this is real. I'll up and down anything you want. I mentioned that there were 2 bedrooms upstairs. So you go up the stairs, you take a right, there's my room, Lyle's room. I never met my grandfather, so I know him as Lyle. You go straight, there's the bathroom, and then you go left, there is my grandmother's old bedroom. Why they didn't sleep together, I don't know. It was the 70s, don't question it. And then, at the top of the stairs, you had a nice little loft landing. The bedroom across from mine, across that little sort of dingy hallway, was chock full of dolls. Apparently my grandma was a big collector of dolls, and they were not in box. They had these horrible, creepy little doll-sized benches that they were sitting on. They were ringing around the room. They were sitting on dressers, and there was like a pile of them on the bed because the bed ended up being disused. No one ever got in it. And the closet was filled to the brim with boxed up dolls. It was prolific. If I had to guess, there was probably, 200, 250 of them. And they ringed the room along the wall. So, 2-3 feet up is just like a circle of doll all the way around. Yeah, sorry, you're not kidding. I see why they had separate bedrooms. So, mercifully, my bed was not looking down the hallway, but that would end up being a curse for reasons I'll get into very shortly. And, might as well throw on one extra cherry on top. Directly above my bed to the right was a window. Because, of course, a window with no curtain rods, no blinds, nothing. It was a window. And there was no way to cover it up. Eventually I ended up shoving one of my pillows in there, so it wasn't that terrible in the long run. But, just one extra thing to add on. Now, here's where things start to decline. As if they aren't already. When I lived in that area of the world, when I lived in Alpine, and you can look this up, by the way, Alpine, Arizona. There's like 2 pictures of it total on the internet. It doesn't exist, basically. When I lived in that town, when I was in the woods, or even when I was in the subdivision, and even when I was in the house, I had the feeling of being watched. And it was screaming intense. I don't know how many people here have, or how many people listening to this, have actually experienced that, the feeling of being watched. And I think there are some people that think they do and they haven't actually experienced it. But, I've been in the vicinity of predators legitimate predators. You know, like a bear. And it's strong. When you're being observed by something like that, it's fairly strong. The feeling that I had when I was up there was indescribably worse. It was as if there was an apex predator 10 feet behind you at all times. And I have looked back on this a lot, because this was a very formative time in my life. I mean, 5 to 12, those are some crucial years. And those are some years that I hold very dearly, of course. And I've looked back a lot and I've thought, am I whack? Was this just paranoia? But the thing that I always come back around to is that it only happened in Alpine, Arizona. When I went to Springerville, which is about 30 miles away, or Show Low, 60 miles away, or Phoenix, nothing. I lived in the Phoenix area before I moved up there, nothing. Now, having moved to Oregon, never had anything like that. So, that really upsets me. This watched feeling 24/7. And it was, I can't possibly emphasize enough, it was infinitely intense. And the reason it bugs me is because I am a man of science, hard line. Although back then I wasn't, I'll get into that in a bit. And I believe, I have no basis for this, but I believe that the feeling of being watched is your caveman brain picking up on things that your conscious brain is not realizing. So the only two conclusions that I can come to with this feeling of being watched all the time up there, and I do mean all the time, it was never ending, is that either I was wonky in the head, which I've never shown signs of before or since. Maybe it was the oxygen. I don't know. Or there was something legitimate to that. I don't know if I'd be going to, like, extraterrestrial. I don't know if I'd be going to Predator or whatever. Or ghosts. Definitely never ghosts, because I don't believe in ghosts. But, have you been back there? No. I'm planning on going back there, and I'm kind of dreading it. But I haven't been back since, no. I will be very interested to see if it pops up again. Or maybe I'll psych myself into a self-fulfilling prophecy as far as that goes. But, that's the only thing that I can say about this story that is truly 100% unexplained to me. Is that paranoia. Is the feeling of having eyes boring into you. So, this feeling, of course, like I said, followed me all the time. And it followed me into that bedroom. And when I would try to sleep. And, let's see, let's consult my roster here. Okay. So, that feeling of being watched was extremely prolific when I was in bed. And I don't know if it was the feeling of being in bed or the feeling of being under the covers or and being in a corner, because, you know, there's only one way in. And what am I going to do, jump out the window? Because I lived on the second story, right? So I don't know if it was that or what, but I hated that bed. I hated being on it in the broad daylight. So sleeping on it was a nightmare. And I'm kind of caught now as to whether I should get to the actual guts of the story right now or keep going with the illustration. But I'm spinning you a web. It'd be rude of me to just leave it hanging. So I'll keep on with the backstory. Because I hated sleeping in this bed so very much, and you know, I slept exclusively under the covers. I developed a system where I would find a way to breathe fresh air, and the only thing that would be exposed to the world would be my nose. I got very, very good at it. But eventually I made the switch. Because, like I mentioned offhand before, there was also a couch in there. And the couch was directly in front of the door. Straight shot, you could see all the way to the doll room. And it should tell you how intense my discomfort was in the bed that I chose consciously to sleep in direct line of sight to the doll room. But when I slept on that couch, I had a throw blanket that I would use to pull over the couch. So I would make kind of a makeshift tent. And I would be encased in this tent. It was almost like a cloth coffin that I would make. And I had a fan that would be running into from the floor into this sort of cocoon that I had made. So I could sleep fully encased. Not even my nose sticking out. And let me tell you, the sensation was less dreadful on that couch when I slept. It was less it was less fearful, if that makes sense. It was less ominous and aggressive, but it got more intense. And I was okay with that because the aggression of it, the negativity of it had backed off. But oh my god, I hate even saying this, and this might make your skin crawl. When I slept on that couch and I was so fully enwrapped or enwreathed in this cocoon, I could swear that there was something like leaning over that blanket. That's how it felt. And that feeling of being watched, and that feeling of not being alone. It felt like there was something right there. It felt like it would stand over me or lean over me all night long. I don't know how I slept, honestly, but and sometimes, you know, the sag of the blanket would start to, you know, kind of creep down because of, you know, something or another. And that feeling would just get more and more intense. Which, you know, to ultra-terrestrial quacks and people like that, you could say, oh, well, that's obviously extraterrestrial because they seem to be fended off by barriers like blankets or whatever. Of course, I don't buy into that, but I will say that that was one of the most intense feelings I've ever had. And one of the things I've been most sure about. It felt so much like there was somebody leaning over me as I was tucked away on that couch. So, according to some people, yes, aliens can in fact be fended off with blankets because they're like psychic vampires or whatever. I'm not versed on the ultra-terrestrials, but look it up. I don't know. So I guess it's kind of no surprise that I ended up being a Bigfoot guy. You know, I felt like I was being watched 24/7, and out in the woods, and we were way out in the sticks out there. It's so all right. Let's get around to the actual story finally, because I spun you guys enough yarn. I feel like I've illustrated the situation enough. So, this was before I moved to the couch. I was still sleeping on Lyle's bed. And, I was not really a ghost proponent at that time, but I was still kind of open to the possibility. And, every now and then I'd go in there and there was like indentations in the blanket or whatever, and I'd go, "Oh, that's unfortunate," because it looked like someone had been sitting there, but, ultimately I brushed it off. So, I was laying down and I would read before hunkering down into the nose thing, because with my light on, I felt slightly better. And I was reading, doing my thing, and I put the book down, and I cast a look over to the door, which was extremely common at that time, because I would just watch the door. I would wait for something to come through that door. And I would kind of fixate on it sometimes. Of course, nothing ever did, apart from this time. So I am lying there, I'm sitting up. I have good posture, the lamp is on, so I have good lights. And I look over at the door like I have thousands of times before. And I see something is kind of off with it. Something is catching my eye a little unusually. And I realize that the door is very, very slightly ajar. Like, we're talking a quarter inch or so. And I thought, well, that was unusual, because I was pretty diligent about closing my door at that time. Because it was just another thing for the spawn of hell to go through before it got to me. But, every now and then it would not click into place because I didn't give it enough force. So I was like, alright, that's fine. And I kind of got ready to throw off the blankets and, walk over there tepidly and shut it all the way. And I froze right before I grabbed the blankets, because something was extra not right about the door. It wasn't just slightly open. And I'm watching it, and I'm studying it, and I'm realizing ever so slowly it is opening further. I'm frozen at this point. So I'm just along for the ride, basically. I'm just watching it. And I'm sitting bolt up, chills all the way down me. I'm watching this door open by itself. But it's doing it at such a painfully slow, deliberate rate. And there was no variation in the speed at which it was opening. There was no moving half an inch in 5 seconds and then 10 inches in another 5 seconds. It was perfectly even all the way through. And it took maybe a minute and a half. Of course, time dilates when you're witnessing wacky, but I think my rational mind would pin it at maybe 90 seconds before it got all the way it hit the jammer. And there was no impetus for the door to do that, obviously. But there, like what I'm saying is, there was no physical thing that was pushing. You know, there was no bunyip that was kicking it down or anything. And there you have it, basically. Door opened by itself. I think I did the kid yell to my parents, and they came up and, you know, closed it and checked everything out. But the thing that really struck me about that story is that I had been in that bedroom for 1,000+ nights before that happened. 1,000+ days, even. And never once, not a single time, did that ever happen before or after. The door would latch securely, and even when it didn't, it wouldn't swing all the way like that. There was no slant to the house at all. And I had been in bed, you know, same angle, same lighting, same everything, a bunch of times, with the door not quite latched, and, you know, it'd hang open a little bit. Never did it open itself like that. Never did it even move. So, I don't know what went down there. I have tried to attack it from every angle that I can think of, and the only rational explanation to me is that the stove, and this is the theory that my dad also put out there, even though he's not convinced, the stove that we had was running. You know, we were throwing in real firewood and kicking up Survivor Man fires. That the air displacement coming off of that was moving upward because hot air rises, sliding across the chimney and the roof, and then getting into that loft and blowing into my room. Again, my only problem with this is that we had that stove running for untold nights because it would get wacky cold up there. And never once did I have that problem, even with my door ajar. So there's my McSpookus story that I've been trying to get on Halloween Madness. I know it's not very good, or at least it's not very high action, but it is pretty Halloweeny. You know, that's what I hang my hat on. Because it's not, you know, I could just say, oh, door opened by itself and I was scared, and then, you know, nothing ever happened again. It's that simple. I spent a half hour spinning you guys a yarn, basically. But there you have it. The Halloween Madness story and accompanying backstory that is actually most of the story. You know, I've never thought about it before right now, but I guess it's just things that you kind of block out when you're in that situation. You don't really think about it. But the intensity of not being alone when I was in that couch is so remarkable to me. because I don't get that way. I'm not jumpy. I've been unofficially given a Medal of Honor before. I don't seize up when faced with unpleasant situations or high stress situations. But the unconscionable fear that something was right above you by inches and separated only by a piece of fuzzy fabric. That was horrifying. It's gross to think about. It's gross to think about a dude, leaning over the couch. But I'm just freaking myself out now at this point. I don't know. Sora and Mark aren't even talking anymore. They probably passed out or something. Or I don't know. Maybe my story was so good they hit the cyanide. I don't know. That's only the first story. That was the good one. Yeah, take a second now. Put back some water. I'm parched. Ugh. Yeah, Sora's still here. Or listening, at least. Looks like Mark did end up running off. That's fine. I'm sure I'll hear this. I'm probably going to make this public. Alright, so you guys want the second story? Second story is not paranormal. It is spookies. Spookus. Spooky? Spookus? Sporpus? But not ghosts or anything. Alright, Sora's in. I'll have to gather my memory for this because I didn't write anything down for it. And memory of this experience is sketchy, as I'll get into. But as I'm doing that, I'm kind of mulling over. It's really interesting that I had what could be described as a ghost encounter, a ghost experience, right? A door opening by itself, and even discounting all of the wacky stuff that happened surrounding that. And yet I don't believe in ghosts. That's interesting. I believe in Bigfoot, even though I've never seen it. I believe in aliens, even though I've never seen one. But I've seen a ghost and I don't believe in them. So that's fun. Alright, into the second story. I think I've got enough of it. Uh-oh. Pieced together now. Are we still going? Because right now this thing is saying that it is dead. I'm actually going to use text chat here. Stream dead. Audio streams current bitrate is lower than the recommended bitrate. It says 0. Still alive? Is it like cutting in and out? Let's see, cutting in and out. Alright, cool. YouTube's back end is just bending me over as no surprise to anybody. Alright. Geez. Golly, now I gotta gather it all back up. Okay, so about 10 miles out from Alpine, where I lived in the Hell Cabin, was a little town called Nutrioso. And I had a good friend who lived there, so we'd, bomb on down there and have a good time constantly. We'd go spooky hunting like Max and Kendall, but unlike them, we never found anything actually that spooky. However, the spooky came and found us one day. The Nutrioso place is kind of more of a plainsy thing. You get up onto the mountain real quick. So there's a little bit more like brush, and it's kind of in a canyon area with two mesas in between it, in this sort of wash concave thing. Think of it like a V, and Auger Canyon or Nutrioso is in the middle of the V, and then the V is two mountains that conjoin into one. So one day we were just doing our normal thing like we always did. Not spooky hunting this particular day. And we were actually inside along with Debbie and Aaron, who were Corey's parents at the time. So there's your cast. It was me, Corey, Debbie, and Aaron. And I go over to the sink to get a glass of water because we're the type of friends where it's like, oh, you're basically family. I ate their food and all that, and vice versa, of course. And I look out through the window that they have over the sink, just because it's what I do. Looks like Australia out there with all the gum tree looking things. And coming in into the valley, it's lower than the peak of the mesa, is a UFO. And I get a quality look at this thing. Great look. And me and Corey were both kind of into the weird stuff, so I immediately say, oh, Corey, come over here, dude, look at this. And he comes over and he sees it. So immediately I go, okay, I'm not making this up. Corey sees this thing too. This is not child's imagination. And Corey is rather excitable, so he goes, oh, Mom, come on, look at this, look at this. And Debbie kind of meanders over. She's not very excited about this because, she's down to earth, doesn't really care for the occult. And she looks out the window and she goes, what in the hell is that? So she sees it, and she's sort of transfixed by it. And she calls over Aaron, who's a firefighter and kind of the badass of the house. And Aaron looks over the window. We're all looking through this same window, all four of us. And Aaron comes over and he sees it. He goes, I have no idea what that is. And here's where things get really weird. I don't remember how this resolves. I don't know if the thing flew away. I don't know if we all just sort of accepted it as a fact of life and walked off into the living room again. I have no idea what happened. The memory's just gone. And no missing time or anything like that. So I don't think I got nabbed. And the memory of this actual encounter was buried for years. I remembered it fairly recently. So there's a really weird sort of memory thing going on around this. Because, you think I would remember this aces, right? But no dice. Yeah, see, memory does do that sometimes, but the thing about it is, I remember what it looked like crystal clear. I can see it in my mind right now. I just don't know how it resolves. I don't know how the thing went away, and I don't know why I didn't remember this for so many years. It was just like 2 days later I had put it out of my mind, and that was that. But my memory of actually seeing it is so vivid, so it's weird. Memory is scary, brain science is scary. So the actual thing that I saw was cigar shaped. It was one of those good old cigar UFOs. And the best way I could describe it is maybe if you took like it looked like it was a torpedo or a submarine that was, just smooth. There was no
dorsal fin or anything on it. It looked metallic, you know, and it looked like it had scoring on it, or maybe like water run lines or something like that. But I think it looked like scoring, like it was burned, which, you know, you could say re-entering the atmosphere or whatever. I don't know, but it was a sort of burnt yellow, orange, bronze kind of hybrid thing. A little bit of scarlet or fuchsia in there. It's a very distinct color, and I've never seen a color quite like that. You know, maybe it was like burnt zinc, but I've never seen anything that looked like that material. Now I'll get to the Jeep. I've never seen anything like that material where I go, oh hey, that looks like, you know, the UFO. Here's the really wild part. The only break on it that I remember was window panes or some kind of viewing ability up front, the side that was facing to the right, and it looked like segmented windows like you'd see on an airliner, you know, or a Zeppelin's observation deck, and they were up in the tube. It was hovering, I would guess, you know, I'm terrible at this, but we'll call it maybe 600, 700 feet. It was low, and we lived up on a hill, and there was a valley that sloped off right at the bottom of that hill. So relative to the valley, it wasn't actually that low, but to us, it was not exactly treetop, but it was, you know, it was real low, and it was moving very slowly, you know, just a couple miles an hour. No sound, and that was actually something that we talked about as we were all looking at it. I think Debbie said it first. It was like, well, that shouldn't be silent, you know? Aaron was like, well, maybe that's a plane or a blimp or something. And Debbie said, well, it should be making noise, right? Ignoring the fact that planes don't hover, but whatever. So, there you have it. There's my UFO story. And I have talked to 3 or 4 people that have also had UFO stories in that exact area. That's like 10 square mile radius. Maybe it's a military thing? I don't know. But I've talked to multiple people that I trust who have all said that they saw weird flying things right in that spot. And, you know, I trust, maybe not me and Corey, but I would trust Debbie and especially Aaron's judgment implicitly. Do blimps make noise? Yeah, they have to ambulate. They have the engine on the back that, you know, boom, 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 boom. And you'd be able to hear that from how close we were close, dude. So, as with any UFO stories, you know, if you guys have any questions, I'd love to answer them. I'd actually really like to, because I kind of want to explore this experience, explore this memory a little bit, because I haven't really given it the time of day, which is weird. It's also worth noting that I got a pretty good beat on this thing because it was so close. So I kind of got a good sense of the scale of it. You know, I couldn't give you feet, or I'm terrible at that, but it was not blimp sized, and it was not blimp shaped. It was too skinny. It was a perfect circle in circumference. It wasn't fat like you see a Zeppelin. No, you don't hear them from the ground, but we were up on the hill, remember? So we were, we would have been basically in the jet stream of this thing if it was a blimp. But again, it wasn't. Not only was it not shaped like a blimp, but there was no external power of any kind. It was smooth, you know, so there wasn't the engine or the props or anything like that. And I know that this is not particularly unusual. This is actually a very cookie cutter UFO story. But the interesting thing is with the other people that I've talked to, they all have different UFO types from that same spot. So you know, my dad said once that he saw a disc, like a flying saucer style, flying over Escadilla Mountain. Let's see, my mother and there was somebody else, I don't quite remember who, said that there was like almost like a balloon style UFO that was around. They both saw it separately, never talked to each other. So my one was cookie cutter, my dad's one was cookie cutter, but they were different types. Got any other ideas? I mean, we are starting to wind down now. I'm really pleased that I managed to stretch out these two stories into an hour. I really didn't expect it. I thought I was gonna blow through them and run out of steam at like 30 minutes. But we're gonna be wrapping up here pretty soon. So, got any questions, gents? Fire them off now, especially over the UFO one, or you know, ghost one. Just kind of review what we talked about, and any questions you've been thinking up or have had, I'd love to answer them, because I love discussing this. I want to know. I want to know what happened. I want to have an explanation. I want to have an explanation that isn't, you know, ghost or alien ship. That's not true. I want to see the alien ship. I want to believe that an actual UFO existed. But ghosts, I ain't down with that. Yeah, not getting anything. Okay. I mean, they might both be not here. But we got 2 minutes before rounding out a nice even hour. I think I'm going to leave it there anyway. So, glad to have gotten the first one out into the world. The second one is, oh god, Mark. Well, it's okay, buddy. This thing is going up public because I actually really like this stream, so you'll be able to go back and listen to it. But man, I completely lost my train of thought. The UFO one, really interesting. I haven't given that a whole lot of thought because it's still newly uncovered in my memory, so maybe I'll have to remember that some more, maybe talk to some more people about that. I don't have contact with any of the other 3 people anymore. But this was really fun. It was fun to go back and relive some Sporpus, have you guys along for the ride. On that note, thanks for coming out, guys. Now I'm using a lot now because I'm just killing time until the top of the hour rounds out, which is 30 seconds. But hope you guys had an amazing Halloween madness. Hope you guys enjoyed this stream. Hope the Sporpus never leaves you. You're always deep into the Sporp. And we got another 11 months to fill before Halloween Madness 2021, if that even happens. So, keep it spookums, guys. I always like you.
See